What's going on, guys? It is officially time for us to start gearing up for the 2026 fantasy football season. It's the best time in the world if you're a dynasty manager. We've hit the off season. It's time for us to look at our players, start ranking them, get ready for these rookies. We've got a ton of stuff coming out here with the Faceoff Sports Network. We're really excited to present to you rookie reviews like we did last year. We're going to come up with all sorts of mock drafts, give you our rankings for individual rookies. But for right now, I'm focusing on finalizing my personal rankings for the players we have right now in the NFL so we can start slotting in these rookies to get where we think their value is going to be and who we'd rather have, of course, who we're going to be buying, who we're going to be selling. But let's start right now with the quarterback position, and let's get straight to it here on the Faceoff Sports Network. So for my dynasty rankings, I'm going to do a positional video for tight end, running back, wide receiver, and quarterbacks. We're going to have individual ones where we break out my top tiers for each position. If you want complete access to my rankings and the other rankings with the Faceoff Sports Network, you can subscribe to the Patreon. The link will be in the description. You can also join our Discord. The Discord's free. Get in there. We just launched a new Dynasty channel where I know Coach, myself, and Tyler are going to be putting all sorts of content out there, talking about all these rookies, who we're looking at. If you have a certain player you want us to give a review on, throw the name in there. We'll be sure to watch the film, give you our perspective on each of these players. But let's get straight to it, and let's start with my tier one quarterbacks. Obviously, there's going to be some discrepancies here between everyone, but these are the guys that I'm targeting as the elite alpha difference makers. I've got Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen in my S tier. You could certainly throw some other names in there. Obviously, Drake May had a fantastic year, but more on him later. I want to start with Jaden Daniels. I understand that, yes, he did not have the best season this past year. But if we look back at where he was before, he finished as QB5 last season, scoring almost the exact same amount of points that Josh Allen had this year. And I think that he can do that going forward. I mean, Josh Allen had 374 points on the season, finished as your quarterback one. 2 years ago, Jaden Daniels had 364 points. So I think he can absolutely do that again. I think it's also the perfect time to buy. He had the dip. So the season that he had this year, only quarterback 34. He only appeared in 7 games, exited early in one of them. So I don't put too much stock in how he performed. And when we do look at the games he did playing, he did pretty well. I mean, he averaged over 16 points per game. Obviously, that's not what you want from an elite difference maker, but at the same time, he didn't have Terry McLaurin. The run game was an issue. I mean, we had Bill to start, but it was inconsistent. They weren't really using him. I think there's a lot that this Washington team can get better at. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury's out, bringing in a new offensive coordinator. Myself, I'm hoping for Mike McDaniel. We'll see what happens there, but I think Cliff kind of hit a wall with this offense, and things weren't necessarily going as planned. And the season was derailed from the start. Injuries to the O-line. I mean, I mentioned the McLaurin injury. The defense was absolutely terrible. So all sorts of things I think that can transition for this Washington team to be better. And that's why I have him at my QB1. You could certainly argue that you could have Allen over him, and I'm fine with that. These guys are in the same tier. Their legs are different makers. They have elite arms. Jaden Daniels is an elite processor. He completes passes, not quite as great as he did this year, as he did the year before, but I think he's going to be fine going forward. So I really like Jaden Daniels. I have him here in my tier one, and I think the future for him is bright. If I was going to be buying, which I currently am, I would be looking to spend up to go get him. I mean, we're talking 3 firsts at least is what you're going to have to pay. If it's a super flex league, you're probably going to have to pay even a little bit more than that. But if you have someone that's in love with maybe a Jalen Hurts, I would absolutely move Hurts in something to go get a guy like Jaden Daniels. Just because he's younger, he's got all this momentum coming into this upcoming season. He's going to be able to work with Terry, work with Debo. This team's probably going to add someone else. I think Bill's going to get a bigger role. If they don't even bring in a running back, offensive line, I expect that to be addressed. So lots of things in store for this Commanders offense, and I'm really excited for that. But my QB2 in this first tier is Josh Allen, and there's not much more you can say for the guy that's just been consistently dominant. I mean, in the last however many years this is, I mean, this is insane. We're talking QB1, QB2, QB1, QB2, QB1, QB1. I mean, it's unbelievable run he's been on. He's just an absolute monster with the ball in his hands. He does anything he wants to with the ball. I mean, he can run, he can throw. I think this offense, even with the lack of weapons, they still get it done, and he does fantastic in fantasy. So there's not much to say. for Josh Allen. If I'm buying, yeah, I mean, you can, but honestly, probably you can't. That's the issue. If he's on someone's team, he's staying there. He's not moving. If I have him, I'm holding him. I'm not moving him. He's 29 years old. There's no signs of him slowing down. He's going to be just fine going forward. So continue to use him. I mean, his points per game this past season, 24 points per game. That's unbelievable. So I really, really like Josh Allen. I know that's the obvious. So certainly run with him if you can. But let's move on to my tier 2 here. Some more names that I think we can obviously move around. Maybe you have someone higher. Let me know in the comments. But my tier 3 is going to be Drake May, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Drake May coming off an insane year where he scored, 22 points per game, depending on your format. He's been freaking fantastic. I mean, playing at an MVP level. I expect this offense also to get better. I mean, they don't necessarily have the best weapons. Obviously, you got Stephon Diggs there, but I think they could certainly add another player to this offense. We didn't see Travion Henderson really come on until midway through the year, so he's going to be just fine. Not to mention, he's 23 years old. So I think life is looking good for Drake May. He's certainly a guy that I would be buying. Again, it's another one of those situations where I'm not sure you can really capitalize off going and getting him unless you have someone who's just truly either a Patriots hater or just thinks that his numbers were inflated because he had a little bit of an easier schedule. So we could see some regression like we saw from Jaden Daniels this season and some other guys. So I think he's going to be fine going forward. I've got him as my QB3. I mean, that's certainly high in my opinion. He's made a big-time jump, but we'll see what happens with him going forward. My QB4 is going to be Justin Herbert. I know a lot of people right now have Herbert somewhere slotted between the 8 to 13 range, and I just simply cannot understand this at all. I literally need someone to explain this to me because I cannot understand the hate on Justin Herbert and where he's at right now. I mean, I get it. He was QB 10 on the season, but he scored 300 fantasy points. He was just a few points off from, Jalen Hurts, who finished as QB 8 on the season. Herbert had a broken hand. He had all sorts of injuries to his offensive line. He lost 2 all-pro tackles. So that's a big deal. Had an injury to his running back where we lost Amari Hampton at the beginning of the year, which was, awful to see. And then we go down and we see these wide receivers. They played a little bit inconsistent. We had the hot start with QJ. Ladd didn't necessarily have the year that we thought he would, but I think they're going to be just fine going forward. This team is well coached. They're well disciplined. Herbert continues to be really good with the ball in his hands. Had more turnovers this year than he has in the last couple years, so I'd expect him to get a little bit more disciplined in that regard. But, I mean, you can't find a guy who's thrown the ball 500 times with a touchdown opportunity. He only had 26 this year, which is low like the last couple years, but we have seen him throw for over 30 twice in his career. He can absolutely get back to that point. Herbert down the stretch, I think, was really good too. I mean, he had that 30-point game against Dallas, a couple other high 20-point games. So I think he's going to be really good going forward. He's also sneaky good with his legs. I mean, we saw this year he had 83 attempts, which was a high for his entire career, 498 yards. Again, another career high for him, and only 2 rushing touchdowns. That certainly could be a number that's higher. I think Justin Herbert's one of those guys who's so good. He's so young. The offense has so many weapons. The line is going to be good. The defense is solid that I want to go and get him if I can, especially right now, given the fact that people are, in my opinion, underrating him massively. So I'd be willing to pay 2-3 first to go get him, use one of these quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts. A lot of people have Jalen Hurts in their top 5. I'd sell Jalen Hurts and go get Herbert right now, and you might even be able to get a plus, which is insane to me. So go do that if you can. I mean, Herbert, again, has all the weapons in the world, all the opportunity. So he's a guy that I really like going to buy right now. Looking at Lamar Jackson, this is going to be another interesting search. I mean, we just saw the news. Harbaugh is out in Baltimore, which is so weird to say. He's been there for forever. I think Lamar remains a buy. He's a guy that's just, a difference maker with the ball. There's not a lot of people that can do what he can do. Obviously, we had the season that was a little bit derailed just because of the injuries, so not quite that MVP-esque year. We also saw some inconsistencies with the passing game. I mean, this year had more interceptions than he did the year before in less games. He also had, less completions, but a lot of that is just due to his playing time. And the touchdowns certainly regressed. I mean, 21 touchdowns in 13 games, whereas last year he had 41 touchdowns in 17 games. We talked a lot about how we did not think that he would be able to replicate that season in the past offseason. And going forward this year, I think that number can go a little bit higher than it was. So I think he will regress back to, somewhere in that middle range of 25 to 30 touchdowns if he can get this offense going. We'll see who's going to end up being the offensive coordinator of this new Ravens team that we'll see in the future. But I think he's another one of these guys that I would go check in on the price if you can. Only 29 years old. I think he's going to be fine going forward, coming off the year where he was scoring 17 points per game. So he's still fine. He's still that difference maker. His legs, eventually they will probably give out. But he only had 349 rushing yards this year. Last year he had 900. The year before that, 800. The year before that, 700 and 700 and 1,000. So it was a really down year for Lamar. I think he's going to be better going forward. So be sure to go check in on that price. That's why I have him here, closing out my tier 2 as my QB5. Getting into my tier 3 here, guys, this is going to be the B tier. I've got Joe Burrow and Caleb Williams. Again, we've got some elite pocket passers here. Joe Burrow, we could talk for an hour about what we do with Joe Burrow. I mean, looking at his season, obviously you have to start with the injury. I mean, he didn't really come back into the season until week 13 after starting week 1, and he ended the year, playing pretty good ball. So I think that Joe Burrow is one of these guys that you're either in on him or you aren't. And a lot of it is going to come down to how much do you trust the injury? How much do you trust the Bengals? And are you willing to have a guy who's not going to run the ball? I am. When Joe Burrow plays, when he is healthy, he is absolutely elite. That's what we've seen every single year. He's played a complete season. I mean, 2021, he played 16 games, QB7. 2022, played 17 games, QB4. 2024, played 17 games, QB3. So when he's out there, he gets the opportunity to play with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. He's going to score a ton of fantasy points. I mean, I think that he's one of these guys where if you could check on the price, I certainly would. I would be willing to buy if my team was competing. If I'm not competing, then I don't necessarily want to make that move. There's a lot of risk associated with that. Like I mentioned, lots of injuries. I mean, we've got 8 games played this year, 10 games played in 2023, 2022, obviously only 10 played in that season. So lots of question marks around what's going to happen with this Bengals offense. Looks like they're retaining the entire staff, so things are going to be the same, going to be consistent there in Cincinnati. Caleb Williams, though, is my QB7, and I think a lot of people aren't necessarily sure what to do with him. From rankings I've seen, he tends to be somewhere in that 9 to 12 range. For me, I'm a little higher. I think the pairing with Ben Johnson is huge. We saw major uptick in his play and his passing game this season, and I was really happy to see that. I mean, averaged 19 points per game, almost 20 points per game, and it's been another great year for Ben Johnson, just finding a way to develop these quarterbacks, paired with Caleb Williams, who has a different skill set than Jared Goff that he had in up there in Detroit. When we look at what Caleb Williams was able to do, he also uses his legs at a tremendously effective level, not just to run the ball down the field and scramble, but to also extend the play to throw the ball down the field. He had 3 of the fastest plays this season, and he's a quarterback. He's sneaky quick, and I don't think we really realize how good he is. I mean, QB5 on the year, 27 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, a guy that threw it 568 times. So you love to see that opportunity. You love to see that volume. I think he's going to be one of these guys that we need to really watch carefully going into the season, see what weapons they add, see what moves they make. That offensive line shored up, and that helped tremendously. I mean, here we are. We're seeing the Bears about to have a home playoff game. They were fighting for that top seed at times. Caleb Williams is only 24. I mean, there's all sorts of room for him to continue to grow and get better. I mean, we've heard plenty of times how sophisticated and complicated Ben Johnson's offense is, and he seems to be grasping it pretty early, getting better each and every week. I mean, looking at his box score, seeing him having the ability to throw it 30 plus times, multiple times this season. I mean, almost every single game he had over 30 attempts, and they still were effective running the ball, but not necessarily the best running back duo either. So I think Caleb Williams is going to be a guy that continues to get better over these next couple of years. I have him here in my tier 3, got him at QB7. You could certainly argue for some of these names afterwards, and I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of comments about how could I leave Jalen Hurts out. Well, it's funny you should mention. Let's just get straight to tier 4 here, and let's talk about some of those guys where I have Jalen Hurts, Bo Nix, and CJ Stroud in my C tier, my tier 4. Again, there's names that you could vault up. There's names that you could drop down. I get it. There's arguments all over the place for what we should do with these players. But starting off with Jalen Hurts, back-to-back years where he's finished as QB8 on the season. In my personal opinion, I think we tend to overvalue Jalen Hurts. He is certainly a guy that could produce a QB2 or QB3 season, which he did in 2023 and 2022, respectively. But at the same time, I think that we have continued to see that he is limited as a passer. I mean, only just over 3,200 yards this past season. Best touchdown year of his entire career with only 25. That's not a ton. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great season. He's floated by these rushing touchdowns, had a low in rushing yards really over his career outside of that first year in 2020, where he only had 421 yards, had 8 rushing touchdowns, which is still elite for the quarterback position, but it's low for him. So that certainly could regress. We'll see what happens with, the tush push. But in my opinion, Jalen Hurts is someone that I would be looking to probably sell if I can. I mean, he had 20 points per game this past season. That's great. But at the same time, I think he's a limited passer. Saquon's getting older. Injuries to this offensive line. A.J. Brown, will he be there? Will he cause issues? Who the heck knows? But don't hear what I'm not saying. Jalen Hurts is a tremendously efficient quarterback in fantasy world. He's going to be a solid floor. I mean, you really can't ask for a better base player in fantasy football as your QB1, especially in a super flex, other than a guy like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or, Jaden Daniels, whoever you want to talk about. Some of these names that are in this list so far, those are names that I personally would rather have just for long-term, looking to the future, looking towards what they can do both as a passer and a quarterback. Because again, I think Jalen Hurts, he played fantastic in the playoffs last year when it mattered most. I mean, if you throw on that tape from the Super Bowl, he was incredible. That was one of his best passing performances of his entire career. But ordinarily, he can't necessarily do that. He has lots of struggles with that. He's just a little bit inconsistent there. But again, he's a fantastic fantasy player. I just would kind of look in other directions if I can and if he were to be available. But let's get to my QB9 here, which is Bo Nix. Another interesting player. I mean, an up and down season for him. Obviously, the Broncos had a fantastic year, finishing as QB7, where he was QB7 last year as well. Looked inconsistent at times. I mean, we had some massive games where he scored, almost 40 points, a couple 30-point games, some monster performances against the Jets, against the Green Bay Packers. But again, it's one of those guys that has been inconsistent at times. I do think the pairing with Sean Payton is fine. He's going to be a consistent floor for me going forward. But looking at what he did, I mean, averaging just over 19 points per game, that's a solid base for a quarterback, man. And I think if they could add some more elite weapons to this offense, I mean, they have Cortland Sutton, who's a big target, but I think they need another guy. I mean, rotating between guys like Troy Franklin, I mean, I think he's fine. He's a serviceable player, but I think they could certainly use another elite playmaker on that offense. Evan Ingram didn't do too much this year. The run game really floated this team. J.K. Dobbins was fantastic to start the year. He ended up getting injured. R.J. Harvey slotted in. Played not too bad. He was pretty solid going forward. So I think Bo Nix is going to be an interesting candidate going forward. If I have him on my team, I'm probably holding. I'm not necessarily going out there trying to buy him. I just kind of want to wait and see what this team does in the offseason. I think he's appropriately priced right now. So just kind of stay where you're at if you do have Bo Nix on your roster. And to close out tier 4 here for me, I've got C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, another one of these guys that's had an up and down career thus far and an up and down season. So I think that Stroud is a candidate to go out and buy if you can. Obviously, he had the injuries from week 9 to 12, so that kind of discounted his value, finished as QB 21 on the season. And, I think that him having 16 points per game, it tracks with last season where he was rated at 16 points per game again. But there was injuries all over the place with this Texans offense. They got inconsistent. I think if they can just survive another offseason, I'm interested in C.J. Stroud, especially the way that they kind of closed out the season. Not necessarily the best in the box score. So if you go check that out, I don't think it's going to reflect what I saw on tape and what I saw on the field. I mean, he had the 23-point game against Arizona, not necessarily the best game against Vegas Raiders, closed out a game against the Chargers. This team was winning games when it was tough. I mean, they were a surprisingly good team. They're in the wild card round. So I think C.J. Stroud is going to be just fine going forward. I look to see if this offense can maybe add some help on the offensive line. That really hurt them early on in the season. I mean, let's not forget they moved off Tunsil. They basically moved off of everything that was on that offensive line. The run game, really inconsistent. They lost Joe Mixon, tried using Woody Marks at times, and it looked okay, but it was just not something that I think is going to remain going forward. So CJ Stroud would be the one name that I'm hesitant on. I mean, I'm still going through these rankings. We still have to finish the season. He's probably the one name that I could see slipping outside of the top 10, but he has some elite weapons outside. I mean, looking forward to seeing what Higgins, Noel, and Nico Collins can do together. No telling, man. That's a really good group. Schultz is a solid tight end. So I like seeing this offense. If they can just put it all together and get a run game to help them out, they're going to be really good going forward. But getting to my tier 5 now, I've got Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence. Mahomes is the interesting question mark of what do we do with a guy who's going to have an injury, possibly losing one of his favorite weapons in Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice. There's another drama going on there. So if it's an offseason, we got to have a Rashee Rice drama. But Mahomes just criminally slept on right now. I mean, fantastic for him this season running the ball, had a career high 5 rushing touchdowns, career high in rushing yards with 422, only played in 14 games. The passing wasn't necessarily the most consistent, had 11 interceptions. He's been turning the ball over a lot more in these last 4 years than he did in his first 4 years. But at the same time, the offense just looks different. I mean, he still threw for almost 3,600 yards, and he only played in 14 games. Mahomes was incredible. And I understand some people are going to disagree with that. They don't think he was good, but I think his fantasy value is just insane to me. I think he needs to be inside of the top 12. I think some people have him in that top 7 range, like 7 or 8. I got him just outside of there here at 11. But at the same time, I've seen some people that have dropped him down to like 15. I just don't understand. I mean, we're finally seeing him running the ball, and he's still an elite arm talent. I think he's going to be fine going forward. Paired with Andy Reid, it doesn't really matter. He's going to be an absolute dude. But let's close out this tier here, tier 5, with one of my favorite players in all of fantasy football, Trevor Lawrence. If you guys have followed along with us here at the Mediators with the Faceoff Sports Network, you've heard me talk about Trevor Lawrence an insane amount. I have been the number 1 Trevor Lawrence truther, and here he is closing out my top 12. He's my QB 12 here, and I'm so happy to say it. He's finally got back in that position. I was someone that was really, really high on him. He had a QB4 season this year, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, ran the ball really, really well, 359 yards, added 9 touchdowns there. So that number's a little bit inflated, so I'd expect some regression there. But, again, a 4,000 passing yard season, that's the 3rd time Trevor Lawrence has done that in his career. That's incredible, man. Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence look like a great pairing. They had injuries all over the place, too, at the wide receiver position. We'll see if Brian Thomas can get healthy, stay on the field. We get Travis Hunter back out there. This run game got really, really consistent. That offensive line was moving the earth, man. If you can, go watch it. They were one of the most efficient offensive lines. We could talk about the defense. The defense was really, really good too. But I think Trevor Lawrence is one of these guys that I'm excited for his future. He's a guy that deserves to be talked about. Only 26 years old, on a new contract, averaged 21 points per game. Absolutely fantastic work from him this season, and I think it's only going to get better. My only concern is there's the possibility that maybe Travis Hunter might end up playing a little bit more defense because we saw the addition of Jacoby Myers, which was really beneficial to this team. Also, Parker Washington played well. Brenton Strange came on. There's offensive weapons all over the place. I think this team is going to be a dark horse. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they'll make the Super Bowl, but I think they could go toe-to-toe with just about anyone in the league with Trevor Lawrence playing the way he has been and this defense absolutely on fire. But that's going to do it for my top 12 quarterbacks. If you want access to more, I mean, we've got names we did not talk about. Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Jackson Dart. What do we do with these names? You can get my complete rankings at the Patreon and the Discord. Link is in the description. Be sure to check it out. All sorts of rookie material coming out. Be sure to subscribe to the Faceoff Sports Network. We've got tons of stuff coming out here with all sorts of ranking videos, all sorts of dynasty buy sells, rookie material coming out. It's a great time. It's the best time. We look forward to seeing you in the next one.